Wow. Happiness is free. Today I'm so excited. Back to my topic. 5 reasons why. 5 reasons why France is not Africa's problem. Dr. ARIKANA and all those who talk good for Africa. That was just an iceberg of happiness, a Luo tune or African tune. Most welcome to my channel. I told you the topic today, just about 5 reasons why France or the West is not Africa's problem. From the onset, I told you, I'm called Mwaka Lotokumoi. I'll be discussing why the rest of the world fear Africa. I want to discuss why we are missing the point, attacking the West, embracing the East, communism, and then destroying our cultures and thinking of a United States of Africa. Yet indirectly courting nuclear war and second colonialism. Well, I'm called Mwaka Lotokumoi. I told you I live in pain. I developed a neurological disease that affects my speech and movement. He says gives me head turn and headache. The past 2 days I've been in pain. All these were results of torture back home in Africa. I was elected national spokesman, Democratic Party in Uganda. In 2011, we organized walk-to-work protests, something like the Arab Spring, to checkmate the government then of President Museveni, now of President Museveni, a 37 years old in power president. Others called him elected dictator. For the past 37 years, we have been under bondage. These are the reasons why I'm calling for 5 reasons why France is not our problem. I see Dr. ARIKANA, PLO Lumumba, and many African good-meaning friends. I was tortured. I'm a victim of torture. I live here in the US like many Africans, and we are opening a house. France, France, France. Let me get to the 5 reasons why I think France is not our problem. Our problem is us, Africans. Number 1, leadership. Leadership. We lack that. We have hypocrites. We have pretenders. Look, we are blaming the West for slavery, for colonialism. That was in 1884. But in the 7th century, the Arabs conducted slavery from the north of Africa to Egypt and the rest of Arab world. Guess what? They are stinking rich much as they didn't colonize or start directly stealing whatever belonged to Africans, they are partly responsible for whatever pain we are in. Now we are focused at China, at Russia, at France, the West, because France sells a colonial tax. France still dominates and siphon Africa. But we are not talking about the Arabs and other nations. By the way, because of lack of leadership, we are unable to control the transatlantic trade. Imagine from 13 to 16 BC, there was a big trans-Saharan trade, gold trade, that exposed Africa to the rest of the world. And guess what? That's where the Arabs saw the wealth and strength of Africa. That's why the West saw the need to colonize Africa and take free slaves, because slavery, the Arabs stopped in between 1619 to 1884. That's when they literally stopped, but the West continued. We built the West, we did everything. So to me, I see, if we are to dig deep as Africans, France is not our problem. Everywhere I go, I see Dr. ARIKANA, PLO, Lumumba, Malema, and all those who think they talk for Africa. Imagine we're here suffering. We need leadership to unite Africa, and we have one president, one currency, and then also one ideology that can help protect the little we have. I must tell you, we have 35% of the world's natural resources, meaning therefore we can do away with France, the West, the East, and then concentrate on protecting the little we have. The world is now going nuclear war, but the uranium and all the resources are in Africa. That's why Russia is dying to take charge of West Africa. So to me, I think we must be wise to start thinking anew. The first thing is leadership. The second thing we must do is to rebuild our lost culture. That is, culture involves education, involves religion. Look, before the advent of colonialism, when the white men were eating raw meat, Africans had already discovered fire. We were eating roasted meat. Civilization started from Africa. Look, according to archaeologists in Cambridge University, about 200,000 years ago, DNA was taken of the Aborigines in Australia. They found they originated from Africa, meaning therefore all humankind came from Africa. That's why I said the Israelites. Someone said no, they were not a nation. up to 1948. No, there has been there in exile. 48 was the time when they took the Middle East. But as I speak, from the from the biblical time, slavery in Egypt, and so on, the Israelites have been in exile. Like Africans, we have the same God we respect. When there's a drought, our elders pray, the next day there's rain. When there's a famine, any ailment, it is solved there and then. No testing of medicine. Africa had its own medicine. Africa had its own way to reserve its culture, the oral tradition. And it's not there because when the whites came, everything African became evil, which we must rethink. Education was programmed. That's the third thing, education. We need to reconstruct because everything was programmed. Imagine, Africans were taught lakes in Nigeria, lakes in Canada, lakes in America, lakes in Britain, but we don't know nothing about creative thinking because civilization started from Africa and we possess 35% of the world's resources. The world feared Africa because when given the chance, they can be top and world power. Look, all the athletes, basketball, football, soccer, everything mostly Africans. Intellectuals, Africans. Sports, Africans. Everything. Meaning, therefore, we need to stop blaming France, stop blaming slavery, start focusing on leadership, culture, education, and we see how to protect the little we have. Of course, we should also be careful of second colonialism. Look, I've seen many African leaders are big trapped. You know, I'm struggling to speak, but there are many being trapped in loans. China gave more than $700 billion, and many countries are failing to pay back. And now they are busy siphoning and taking over the country's natural resources. It will be too late for the West we blame to come and rescue Africa when Russia and China have brought in their communism and then dictatorship and then hijacked whatever was left with Africa. It will be too late. So I call upon us to stop blaming France. No, come on, it's not about talking. It's about thinking and thinking anew so that we can make our bad good, good better, and better best as Africans. And finally, we should, of course, I talked about not all glitters are gold, not all smiles are good. The teeth is white and underneath dirty. People come like friends, yet they're fiends. Friends and yet they're fiends. Be careful, Africans. I love you. We can be the world's biggest power if we are united. Imagine some of us are struggling to speak, yet once orators elected national leaders are now in exile. Many others are suffering. So I call upon, Africans to rethink their future. It's not about dictatorship by quoting the West, the East against the West. We are trying to quote dictatorship, and it's not good for the future of Africa. Thank you. But again, thank you all those who subscribed. We are about to hit the 1,000 limit. Boom! We are left with only 3, and we are about 997. So I want to thank all those who subscribed. Please, if you have not yet, consider doing that. And let me dance a bit as we conclude this. This is called African Sound from actually Uganda, a low group where Barack Obama descends from. Thank you. God bless.